would any of you like to talk about what you see as the greatest opportunities for these communities going forward? Mike, you've talked about the plans and the prospects. I'd be really excited if I was in Baraboo and I was a business person or a resident of Baraboo. Do any of you have ideas about the greatest ongoing opportunity and the greatest ongoing challenge for the communities where these projects have taken place?
Well, as far as
One
an
of,
opportunity, go ahead.
Mike, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, as far as opportunities are concerned, I mean, we're starting to see people actually do new construction along the riverfront. We moved to Baraboo in 1988, and from 1988 until just a few years ago, nothing, zero, got built upon the river. When we started constructing the Riverwalk, when the dams came out, when people started paying attention to what a wonderful asset the river was, we started seeing bigger development projects happen along the river. And again, I had mentioned the distillery. We have a rail museum that's in the redevelopment area. The city hall and police station, obviously, I had mentioned. In the 63 units of brand new apartments that are being built. It's a brick apartment building. It's gorgeous. It's got balconies overlooking the river. That's bringing people right down to the riverfront. That's where they're going to live. Nobody lived on the riverfront before. Nobody.
Mhm.
It was
Mhm.
it was pretty incredible. So what we're seeing is a transformation in the way people are thinking about the river. And we're not done by a long shot in what we believe we're going to see just an economic benefit as far as increased tax base and increased activity along the river with people living there. Well, once those apartments fill up, and again, it's scheduled to be done either late this fall or early next spring. I can guarantee you we're going to start to see some of the older storefronts in the area get purchased, and there'll be certainly commercial opportunities for people with the families that are moving into those apartments. That's going to stimulate commercial growth.
Mike, that reminds me of Eau Claire when I moved to there in 1988 and lived there until for 25 years. And when I first moved there, it was still in the recovery process from the passage of the Clean Water Act. And a lot of old timers in Eau Claire just considered the rivers to be a sump. And
Yep.
my colleagues, my students that I graduated from high school with in 1970 who went there, I said, God, you got two great rivers there. Why do you use them? And they said, oh, you can't go in those rivers. You'd have to get your stomach pumped. Well, they improved, and by the time I moved there was starting to be a change in that focus to look from looking away from the river or treating it as a refuse area to using the river. And now it has bike trails and the farmers market and new parkland and a whole new attitude toward what a river can be as a lifeblood of a community. I think that one of the really intriguing things about what's going on in River Falls is that same opportunity is beckoning. So, if we can be in a situation where we can take these older impoundments and turn them into a new asset for a community, that community has a lot of benefit to recognize out of it. Bob or Heath, anything that you see?
well, the Ward Dam was right in the center of the city. And it's really important, I think, for them to have 120 acres of open land in the center of the city that they didn't have before. There's all kinds of things you can use that land for over time compared to the utility of that pond that was already silted in. It's really a substantial change in the downtown area, not to mention all the recreation. There were 90 houses around that pond. Every one of those houses is worth more money now. The properties are worth more now. And the potential there for people upgrading those properties is great because of the amenity of the park and a trout stream running through the park. So it's pretty substantial. When the Prairie River jumps from an average flow of 100 CFS to over 1,000 CFS, they're really happy that they got 120 acres of new flood control down there instead of backing it up in the city's storm sewer system, because
Yeah.
the city is literally surrounding that pond.
Okay, great. And Heath?
Yeah, I
You
just
see
think
any-
the biggest thing is you can reconnect the community to the river. And, like I mentioned before at Colfax, one of the biggest things I saw was the local school district getting involved in doing the environmental education in the river corridor. And that's kind of something that it's kind of neat about it, getting the community back involved in the river and kind of, seeing that restored and having those people part of that process. So that's what I would add
Okay.
to that question.
Sure.